Thousands of Americans expressed their frustration with taxes and the government in Tea Party protests across the country. Now, South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford attended 2 of those protests in the state. The governor is a vocal critic of President Obama's stimulus plan, and he joins me now from Columbia, South Carolina. Very nice to have you on the program, sir. You're one of the first governors, even before Obama went into office, who was critical of the stimulus plan. And yet, what was the reaction to the people in your state when you talked about rejecting some of the money?
It's been mixed, as you might imagine. Some people have loved the idea. Some people have been decidedly against it. What I thought was interesting yesterday about the tax parties was there has been something of a time of wilderness for those of us who've been against the stimulus. And if anything, it was partial vindication of that silent majority that we have long believed was out there. Because what happened across the country is a lot of people were out making their voice heard on their concerns about taxes, spending, and stimulus.
You know, there was quite a debate about this, whether it was a real grassroots uprising or a sort of a one-day protest. It's your opinion that it's deeper?
Again, time will be the ultimate judge of that, but my sense is, yes, something's going on in this country that I can't quite put my arms around or put my finger on. Because what I saw both in Columbia and in Charleston yesterday, and there'll be another Tea Party rally in actually Greenville, South Carolina tomorrow night, was, again, something at a grassroots level, the likes of which I've not seen before in the 15 years that I've been involved in the political process.
Yeah, it was quite remarkable in watching that yesterday. You know, I'd like to bring up your position on the stimulus money. Now, you reluctantly accepted on April 3rd the federal stimulus money for your state, but you put some conditions on it. You say that you will not spend the $700 million that's earmarked for education and public safety unless the state legislature agrees to take that same amount of money to pay down the state debt. How did that go over in your state?
Again, as suggested earlier, we mixed reviews. Some like it, some don't. What we did was we certified the funds. We did not accept them. And what we said was we would not accept that last $700 million unless concurrently we use some state money to pay down debt. And the reason is if we spend all the money, we end up $744 million in the hole 24 months from now. And the question has to be asked, how do you get out of that hole? And also, what we looked at was, if you spend every dime of this thing, we're not going to make some reforms that are absolutely essential to South Carolina becoming more competitive going forward. And I could give you a laundry list of other reasons as to why we laid out the position that we did. But ultimately, we think that it is tied to South Carolina becoming more competitive economically going forward, not accepting all the money.
This is such a hard position to take, such a responsible position to take, and you actually risk a lot because if the economy suddenly bursts into health, you risk a lot because you may look wrong. You're thinking about that, I'm sure, a lot.
Yeah, but I think what you've got to do as a fiduciary or a trustee is plan for the worst and hope for the best. Gordon Sullivan was former Chief of Staff of the United States Army, and he wrote a book called Hope is Not a Method. And while we all hope that the economy is decidedly improved 24 months from now, what you've got to plan on is what if that doesn't happen? And what we've been looking at is, again, if you accept all this money, if you spend all this money, we end up $700 million in the hole, and I think that that would be a real problem, which is why we think it's so important we shore up our financial position while we have the opportunity to do so. This stimulus package, in a lot of ways, represents the mother of all lotteries to state governments across this country.
Well, we commend you for the tough position you've taken, and you defend it well. Thank you very much for being with us, Governor Mark Sanford. Thank you.
My pleasure. Take care.
Still ahead.